It is July 13th, 2011, and we are here with Marian Takahara, and this is Maria Maldonado.
And Brittany Shu for the Houston Asian American Archive. All right. To start out, Ms. Takahara, could you tell us about the neighborhood you grew up in Los Angeles in 1925?
Oh, okay. It was mostly, I think they were mostly Japanese in our neighborhood. It was the 30th Street. And I can't remember how long we lived there, but it seems like we lived there for a long, long time. But it was mostly Japanese in the neighborhood. Maybe one or two families who weren't, but mostly Japanese. And it was a very close neighborhood. So that makes any difference.
And was your school also mostly Japanese, or was there more of a mix?
No, it was mostly white.
It was mostly white.
Yeah, it was mostly white.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly white.
And how long had your parents been living in LA at the time when you were born?
Let's see. My dad came over. He was the first one that came to Los Angeles. He came over and graduated high school and then went to the University of California. He was in California. And then my mother was brought over when she was a baby, and they lived in San Jose, California. And I don't know when they got together or what happened, but they made their home in Los Angeles.
You mentioned during your presentation that your dad wanted you to be Americanized, so you did not speak Japanese at home.
That's right.
Have you ever regretted it?
Oh, yeah, I really have. I really wish that I could speak and write Japanese. But I'll tell you, like I said in the talk, after Pearl Harbor, bombing of Pearl Harbor, there was a period of time that we were very ashamed of the fact that we were Japanese. And we tried to avoid anything that was Japanese and tried to be as much Americanized as possible. So, but growing up, my parents just wanted us to be 100% Americanized. And that's the reason we didn't go to any language school. And that's the reason why I can't speak or write Japanese. I can understand it. If someone's speaking Chinese or Japanese, I could tell the difference.
Why do you think your parents didn't try to instill this Japanese heritage when you were younger, before the whole Pearl Harbor attacks and everything?
I don't know why. I guess they just really wanted us to be I really don't know why. They just didn't really want us to go to the Japanese language schools.
Mm-hmm.
And we spoke nothing but English in the homes. But I did speak very good Japanese as a child because my grandparents came often, and they stayed with us. And I understand I spoke very good Japanese then as a child.
Were your grandparents still living back in Japan at the time?
No, they were here. They were in California.
Okay, but they were gone.
Yeah.
What did your parents do for a living when you were younger?
My mother did not work.
Mm-hmm.
My mother did not work. She was just a mother. And my dad was part owner of a produce company.
So was your family well off? How did you perceive your economic intake?
I would say we were pretty well off. I would say we were well off. But I could also remember the Depression, too. I remember the Depression because of the Christmases that we didn't have, as much as we wanted. But I always felt that we always had real nice clothes.
When you were growing up in Los Angeles, was there also a significant like Hispanic immigrant population at the time?
No.
No.
Mm-mm. And there were very few. I think maybe there might be one or two black families nearby. But I can't remember any Hispanics at all. That's been a long time ago.
What was your experience at school? Did you ever feel any sort of discrimination or any sort of tension between the Asians and the white student body?
No, not before the war. Not before the war at all. There was none at all. I mean, of course we had our own groups, and I think growing up, I think as teenagers, most of our friends were all Japanese, and I can't remember. I really can't remember ever having even thought of dating anybody that wasn't Japanese.
Was that your own choosing or your parents' choosing?
I guess it was just something we just thought of not doing. And that's really unusual, because all three of my children are not married to Asians at all.
Yeah.
So, but that's really unusual. When Ken and I first started going together, it was okay. But when we decided to get married, my mother had a fit because she thought that the Japanese in California were much better than the Japanese from Hawaii.
And why was that?
Well, she just thought that we were much better. And of course, my dad comes from a long line of samurai families. Real, it goes way, way, way back. And we've always been, we're supposed to be we have been very proud of that. And that's why when Anne, my oldest daughter, she and Butch went together for a long, long time. And it was okay while they were going together and all that, but when they decided to get married, my mother just had a fit. She wasn't even going to come to the wedding. She really wasn't. She just did not think that was such a good idea, that Anne was not going to marry anybody that wasn't Japanese. And at the very last moment, she decided to come. She thought, and then after that, she just loved Butch.
So she was okay afterwards for
she
the
was
other
okay.
children?
And then with my other kids, it was okay. So Anne sort of broke the ice, I think. How about your parents? Do they feel that you have to be going around with somebody your own nationality? Or?
I mean, they've talked to me about it before, but in the end, I think they just tell me it's really up to you because they realize that it's America, that I'm probably going to find someone else that's not Chinese. So, anyways, let's go to when you heard about the Pearl Harbor attack. What was your reaction?
I've read several books or authors who wrote about this. You probably have read some of the books, Looking Like the Enemy, or the other one, Exile. I've read how they felt, and it brought back a lot of the emotions that I felt that I have forgotten about. And I really must have felt very badly, but like I said before, you sort of forget all those things and you just remember the good parts. Okay, but when Pearl Harbor happened, it really was a shock to us. Like I said, I was only 16, and we really didn't know how to go about behaving like I said, we didn't know whether we should go to school. It was a Sunday. Our parents said we had to go. And everyone was really nice. All our friends, our teachers, everybody was really nice. They continued to be nice, except for when, like I said, when all the newspaper propaganda came out, then we began to feel like, well, maybe this wasn't such a good idea to be Japanese at all. And then when the evacuation order came out, we kept telling ourselves that we are American citizens. They would never put us in the camps.
Did your parents ever consider leaving the United States?
No, they never have. They never have. And there have been many families that have thought about it. In fact, they signed papers that they, as soon as they were able to, they would go back to Japan. But my parents have never done that.
Do you think that was just because they were raised here and the connection to the United States?
I really think so. I think they really did. My parents were I can remember, they were baseball fans. I mean, my dad especially. I mean, both of them were baseball fans. I mean, they would go to every baseball game there was, And they would always, I can remember, we always went to the movies on Saturday night.
How much was a movie back then?
I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
I know we could go on Saturdays for, 10 cents or 25 cents or something, and eat popcorn and everything else for it.
Wow.
So before the evacuation order came, did you face discrimination? For instance, stores wouldn't allow you to go in or buy anything because you're Japanese.
Before Pearl Harbor?
No, after Pearl Harbor, before you had to evacuate.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of discrimination there.
Okay.
Like I said, there was a time when we really wished that this hadn't happened and that we looked like the enemy,
Do you remember your parents' reaction to the news of the Japanese relocation?
Yeah, it's like I told you before. They have never said anything against the United States government. They felt that this is something they have to do. And I think that's the reason why we have never really my dad has never really gotten into any trouble at all, because this is the way he felt. But they never even felt like they were going to leave the United States to go to Japan.
How much time was there between when Pearl Harbor happened and the time that during the relocation and everything? Do you remember?
It's down someplace. I can't remember. Pearl Harbor was in December. I think we were evacuated in May.
Okay. So 5 months.
Did your family pack immediately, or did they wait till the last minute thinking that this wasn't going to happen to them?
They waited for a while, and then they realized with the news reports that it was going to happen. And like I told you, most families were worried and had started burning anything, getting rid of anything that was Japanese. The dolls, the magazines, the books, any letters, anything, artifacts they might have.
Do you remember your parents burning anything? No.
So, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you remember any specific items your parents really wanted to save when you realized you had to leave? Or that you yourself wanted to save?
I kept a diary.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have. I thought eventually I might write a book too. I mean, there were so many books being written.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept a diary, and reading it, I guess I was sad from reading some of the excerpts in my diary. But my parents, I don't remember they're having anything that they had to get rid of. Or if they did, we didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm. What happened to your dad's produce company?
We lost it.
He lost it
Mm-hmm.
completely. Didn't sell it or anything.
You said he was a co-owner, so the other owner was also Japanese?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, so... can you tell us about the train ride to the internment camp?
If I can remember, the only thing I can remember is that our family tried to stay together. I really can't remember too much about it. Like I told you, the only thing I remember getting ready for that train ride or the bus ride, my parents made us get all dressed up. We had to wear our best, and my mother wore her best. And even a hat, I remember that. But I don't remember too much about the train ride. I think it was, I don't know, I think it was long. I can't remember. I really can't.
Once you got to the camp, can you tell us what a typical day was like for you?
At camp.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the first thing we had to do was try to get. They weren't really we went to San Diego racetrack first, and that was pretty bad. That was real bad. And see, they put us into. We weren't there very long. We weren't there as long as some of the other people. We were there only maybe a couple of weeks or so. Some people stayed there longer. But it was pretty bad.
In what ways was it bad?
Well, when you start have to live in places where they had horses before. And the people who had been there before helped us clean it up. I remember that. And helped us find straw for the mattresses and things like that.
Was there running water or anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
Would you say there was more of a sense of camaraderie or a sense of competition between the different families?
Oh, there was never competition.
Mm-hmm.
I could never say there was competition.
Mm-hmm.
There was always everybody helping everybody else.
In high school, when we studied this, we read a book called Picture Bride, and it was about the internment camps. And in it, like, a girl and a guy got married in the camps, and there was a wedding, and everybody tried to give them as much as they could in the way of wedding presents. Was there any sort of, like, community event like that happen when you were at camp?
Probably did. It was after I left, though.
Oh.
But, I'm sure they were. They tried to be as normal as possible, but nobody had a lot of money.
Yeah.
And like I said, my parents scraped together. All I had was $200. Can you imagine going to school with $200? That's all they could scrape together as far as cash.
Mm. But the community was helpful.
Oh, yeah.
You were allowed to leave the camp to go to college, correct? Mm-hmm. Was that normal? Did most of the students from your class follow a similar path?
Mm-mm. You see, from what I understand, as soon as we were sent to camp, the groups like the American Friends Association tried to get as many college students out as possible. In the churches, big churches, like the Methodist Church, I can go on. The churches, and that's how I happened to get a scholarship. But I think a lot of it had to do with my grades. And I think I had to write an essay or something. it's, I guess it made a big difference.
Did your parents place a lot of emphasis on education?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Definitely. I mean, it was just taken for granted we were going to college. That was it.
Did you feel there was any certain areas of study that your parents put more emphasis on than other areas of study?
No, but I definitely wanted to become a doctor. I was always in pre-med. In fact, I was admitted to Western Reserve Medical School and decided to get married instead.
Do you remember how much tuition was when you went to college? Okay. But was it hard for you to get a job to pay it off?
I didn't have to pay off much.
Oh.
And I was on a full scholarship.
Oh, okay.
And that included most of my board and room, too. I did work in the dorm, in the kitchen once in a while. And I did work part-time in the student union. But it was a full scholarship, including mostly my board and room, too.
And that was from the American Friends?
No, that was from the Methodist Church.
Okay. The Methodist Church in the internment camp?
No, it was the main Methodist Church wherever they're located.
Mm.
So at college, did you try to fit in with, were there other Japanese students there that you
There's
fit
only
in?
one other.
Oh.
Don't forget they were all girls. The guys were gone.
Yeah.
And Asumi, the girl, is the one that just took me over. She was there a year ahead of me. And she's the one that sort of took me under her wing. She got me settled and got me a part-time job and helped me get my classes and so forth like that. But I was telling my girls, I said, people always ask me about discrimination or if I felt anything. The only time that I felt sort of hurt was, when you're in college and all girls, the whole social life is around the sororities. And most of my friends were either in the Tri-Dels or the Alpha Chi's. And they were wonderful to me, They really were. I was invited to a lot of the things, but I always felt that they could have, but they always told me that they had tried to bring my name up, but they were never considered even asking me to join a sorority because of my nationality. And so I always felt left out in that way because there was so much going on, And so I was telling Ann and Amy, that's the only time that I felt that it made a big difference while I was in school. Because, during the war, all the guys are gone. It was mostly girls at Simpson College, which was a small Methodist college.
So while you were at college, your family left the camp,
Uh-huh.
and where did they go? And is this when your dad got the job making maps?
And they stayed in Cleveland. They did not go back to California.
Okay.
Why do you think they stayed in Cleveland?
I really don't know why they didn't want to go back to California. They visited,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't want to go back and live there. They felt that their home was in the East, which was Cleveland. And that was their home.
Do you think there may have been less discrimination in Cleveland? Or do you think it's just because they had spent so much time away from California?
I think so. So. And my mother had family in California, which she did.
And you mentioned previously that your father worked to develop bombing maps, correct? Do you remember any internal tension for your father doing this job, or him mentioning it to you at all?
No. No. He was just real proud to be able to do that. I'm sure it was very hard for him.
How much family do you have back in Japan, and how close are you to them?
See, my maiden name is Konishi, and there's quite a few Konishis in Tokyo, and we still correspond and exchange presents at Christmas time, and we're still pretty close. I mean, it's hard language-wise. I write to them in English, and there's only one cousin, or I forgot what she is, who was educated here, and she can speak and write English. So when I write to them in English, I write in big letters and put spaces, and then she interprets them and translates them. And when they write to me, they write in Japanese, and then I try to get somebody to translate it for me. You know, I'd go into restaurants and ask if they know how to say it.
So how did you meet your husband?
In school. Oh, okay. When I was a freshman, Ken came back. He was already in the 442nd. He came back on his overseas furlough before he went overseas. And he came to visit Simpson because he had been at Simpson. His sister was the first Japanese who graduated from Simpson College, and he would have been the second, and I would have been the third. But he came back on his overseas furlough. I thought he was the most conceited, awful. I mean, I hardly spoke to him because he had all the girls around him, you know. I mean, and I really didn't think it was very much at all. And we met, and that's about it. I think we just sort of spoke to each other. That was it. He went overseas, and that's how we met. And then when the war was over, he still had credits. He did not graduate. He still had credits. So he came back to Simpson, and he finished and graduated. And by that time, I was a junior, I think. And somehow we got, with all the fighting and everything, we finally got together and we started dating. I don't know what happened. and you ask my kids, you know, we've been married 64 years. And they said, they really don't understand how we happened to get together and have stayed together this long, because we're so different. We are real different. And that's how we met. So he stayed to finish, graduate, and then I finished with Simpson, and then we went to University of Iowa. We did graduate work.
After the war, did your husband have any problems adjusting back to civilian life, or have any bad memories?
No, because he joined the reserves.
Oh, okay.
He joined the reserves. He was PFC while he was in the 442nd. Then I think when he joined the reserve, he was promoted to first lieutenant, and he was in the reserve for quite a while. And he was still in the reserve when we went to the University of Iowa.
You both went to the University of Iowa?
No, just he did.
Just he did. Okay.
When he was in school, I always, like I said, I still wanted a medical field, so I took courses and got certified to become a medical technician. And I worked in the hospital for about a year and a half at the university.
Oh, okay.
At the time when your husband was studying at the University of Iowa, did he have a career or anything, or was he just a full-time student?
He was a full-time student.
Mm-hmm. And when did he get a job once he graduated?
You know, that's when we went to Johnson, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
And what was the job?
He was a laboratory director.
Mm-hmm.
His major was in biology.
Okay.
And biology and biology, yeah, mostly biology and chemistry. So he got a job right away at the hospital in Johnson, Pennsylvania. Now, our Anne and John, our first two children, were born in Iowa City, and Amy was born in Johnstown.
Were you working at the time, or did you?
No, I worked. I worked with Anne. I think almost until the day before I had her.
Wow. Do you remember your salary at the time?
No.
Did you enjoy your job?
Oh yeah, I really loved it.
When you moved to Pennsylvania, did you continue your job as a medical technician, or did you take time off?
No, it didn't work at all. It didn't work from then on. It didn't work until Amy was a was it Amy? Let's see. Until Anne went to college. I stayed home. But when we realized, when we were in Cumberland, Maryland, when we realized that we were going to have 3 kids in college at the same time, you see, I had those 3 in 4.5 years.
Oh, okay.
And so they're real close together, so that all 3 were going to be in college at the same time. And we could not afford that even on his salary. He was making good money, but we couldn't afford that. And so I decided I had to do something. I had to go back to work. And at that time, it's hard to believe this, but at that time, it was hard for me to go into nursing school. They didn't really take older people into nursing school. By that time, I considered myself old. And so I thought the next thing to do was to become a teacher. And so I went back to school and got I had no teaching experience at all. But Mateo, get down. Off. Come. So I got my master's and my teaching certificate at the same time. It took me about 1.5 years.
Why did you decide to try nursing and then eventually teaching rather than continue as a medical technician?
I think maybe because I figured that teaching would be the best thing when you have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that's the reason I went ahead and got my master's.
What age group did you end up teaching?
Oh, my master's is in early childhood. I ended up teaching kindergarten. I loved it. I mean, I really did. And it was hard work. When I was younger, I was in my 30s. I mean, you could get on the floor and it was easy. And even then, at that time, I was up north. When you've got little kids, okay, kindergarten kids, you got to dress and undress them, even tie their shoes, I mean, it's a lot of work. And usually kindergarten's only half a day, so you usually had 2 classes. You had a morning class and an afternoon class. Well, that means setting up 2 classrooms.
Oh.
2 sets. So, but I really loved being a kindergarten teacher. I ended up teaching mostly 3rd grade, 2nd and 3rd grade.
So how did your family move to Somerset, New Jersey?
My family didn't. It was just Ken and myself.
Oh, okay. Oh, that was after your daughters were already in college.
Yeah.
Oh.
Was it for your husband's job?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you continued teaching in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Was there a salary difference between Maryland and New Jersey?
Gosh, my God, he's at least talking. I'm glad he is. I would say it was more. I'm not sure. It was hard to get a job in New Jersey. It really was. And I finally got a job as a instructor for it's the university there in New Jersey. What's the big university in New Jersey? Starts with a B. Gosh, my memory's terrible. I was in the demonstrating school there, teaching kindergarten and first grade. But I did like it. I didn't like teaching in New Jersey at all. I hated it. And so when Ann's husband Butch was admitted to Rice, we came for a vacation, and I loved Houston. I mean, it's different then, you know. I loved Houston, and Ann took me up to the office. They hired me immediately. But then, you know, Ken had to go back and try to sell our house, and he couldn't sell the house in New Jersey. So I stayed with Ann, and I had a dog there. The Pepsi was my dog. We stayed with Ann for about a year until he came to Houston.
Do you remember how much the house eventually sold for?
We made money on it. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
What did you dislike about New Jersey?
I hate to say that on the.
Okay, it's fine.
You turn off and I'll tell you.
We'll ask you afterwards.
Let's see.
So you came to Houston. Was that when you started teaching in 76?
Mm-hmm. I taught in Spring Branch.
And did you feel welcomed into Houston? Were the people friendly?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I loved Houston. I even liked the traffic. It wasn't bad at all. I mean, you know.
Did you like the weather?
The weather I could do without, but they get used to it. Yeah. As long as you have air conditioning.
Did Ann and her husband have children at the time when you were living with them?
No.
No.
They had a dog. They had a dog, and then when Ann got, is it Meredith or Michael? I think it was when she got Michael. Michael was very allergic to dogs.
Oh, wow.
And then they gave me Bojangles. That was their dog.
Mm. Do you remember your reaction when you found out that your daughter was interested in marrying someone of Caucasian descent rather than someone of Japanese descent?
No, it didn't bother me because Anne's like you heard her talk. I mean, she and Butch went together since they were in 10th grade.
Wow.
And so Butch was always around. It was just that when they decided to get married, that my mother is the one that just was against it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You've lived in a bunch of different parts of the United States. Do you remember any significant differences between any of the places and how you were treated in these different cities?
I love the Middle West. I still love the Middle West. I think it was different. It's different from the East, New Jersey. And Houston at the time was just as nice as the people in the Middle West.
Mm-hmm.
They're still all right, you know. They're all right, but it's not the same. I mean, when we first came to Houston, we'd go to open houses, and the houses were open. You know, you could just walk in and look around. And they wouldn't even think of doing something like that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, when did your parents pass away?
Gosh. My mother passed away when she was 75.
Okay.
And my dad passed away when he was 89.
Wow.
And he lived here with me for a while. But he had an apartment in... he and my mother were living in one of these retired homes, really nice retired homes. And he kept that. Even when he lived with me, he kept his apartment. And he wasn't real well, but he didn't like being here. He wanted to go home. And I think he knew he probably was going to just pass away. So he went home to Cleveland. And one morning they found him and he had fallen, I guess, and had a stroke.
Mm.
So
You seem to have a really strong sense of extended family. Do you think this is something from your background and your heritage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't think there's a divorce in the whole family that I could think of. And both of us in the Takaharas.
You mentioned that both your parents were dead by 1988, so they couldn't qualify for the $20,000 that was given to the internment survivors. When we were studying, our teacher told us that some critics said that this amount was insulting because it's basically paying for like discrimination with money. So, do you have an opinion on this?
No, I was just glad to get the $20,000.
Okay.
But it's sort of sad. We didn't usually read as much as my parents would have. I mean, they really went through a lot.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel you raised your children different than your parents raised you? Did you have, for instance, more emphasis on your heritage?
No, I think I raised my kids the same way. We were always very always associated with the church.
Mm.
All three of my kids always had perfect attendance going to church, you know. And I don't think that's happening with their kids. But we really, raising my three kids, we really emphasized they were good. They had to be good in school, education-wise.
Did you encourage them to learn Japanese or to get more in touch with their culture?
I tried.
Oh, okay.
My grandsons are very fluent in Spanish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to help them.
Yeah.
But it's only because their housekeeper was always Spanish and spoke nothing but Spanish, and they had to learn. And so as a baby, from the time Amy went to work, I think she started working when the kids, Deborah was 6 weeks old. She always had someone, but they spoke nothing but Spanish, and so the kids grew up. So they're both fluent in Spanish. They would love, I think, to be able to speak Japanese. And they're very proud of their heritage. They really are. Both of them are.
I know that your husband wasn't interned during World War II because he was in Hawaii, correct? How do you feel his attitude towards the United States differs from your own, or are they similar?
His attitude?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's similar, probably mainly because he's been in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
He really fought for the country, you know.
What about your brother? I remember you mentioned that he felt differently.
He felt different. He was in the Army, and he had a good college education, and but he just doesn't appreciate going to the reunions of the relocation camps and things like that.
How often do they have reunions?
Well, we're supposed to have one in September, but my husband is not that well, and we're going to save his energy until we go to the big one in Washington for the congressional ballot. And we went to the one 2 years ago. He enjoyed that.
Are these events more of celebrations or remembrances, or more solemn?
No, they're not solemn.
Mm-hmm.
It was really just to get together. And they have quite a good turnout. And they have, I should show you mine. I don't think it's here. I have an album of all the things that they've done.
Hmm.
Do you recognize any old friends from the reunions?
To tell you the truth, most of my friends are died. Have died. My two very best friends are gone, and Ken's, all his friends have died. You know, don't forget I'm 86 and he's 88.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. After 9/11, many in the United States harbored kind of hostile feelings toward the Muslims. How do you feel the treatment and the U.S. government's reaction to this hostility differed from that of the treatment of the Japanese? And do you think they did an adequate job?
You mean do I think they should have been interned?
No, I just mean no, not at all. I mean, like from the way I understand it, there was a lot of
Resentment against them, you mean?
yeah, there was
There still is.
yeah, and like what would you say to someone who has these hostile feelings, for instance, against like all Muslims?
Well, I feel sorry for them because it's only because some of them really, it's from their looks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what happened to us. And I'm very sympathetic as far as that's concerned, you know, because that's exactly what happened to us. It's because you can almost point them out from the way they look. So, like I said, there's a thing like looking like the enemy.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't know. Is there anything else you'd like to add that we didn't cover? Any specific portions of your life?
Like I said, everything's been okay. It's been okay. I just wish my husband were in better physical shape, but then if you see what the rest of them look like, and he's really in not bad shape at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he suffers from depression, mainly because he can't get out to golf. I mean, it's too hot, and then he sleeps most of the morning. If he could get up in the morning, you know. But I think once we can get about on the golf course, he'll be okay.
Do you think this is partially a result of the war, or
No,
just past?
no, it's just his age.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 3 strokes. This is one in April 3rd was his 3rd stroke.
Oh wow.
Well, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you very much for your time.